For the 5th spot on Ascent, this post-plant wallbang makes it much harder for the defenders to retake through Rafters. Fire through this wall between the first and second layer of bricks for shots that will likely hit the defenders in the head. You can also shoot up through the floor of Rafters, but you're much more likely to hit a defender shooting across rather than up through them. 4th is a wallbang to help control the midsection of Ascent. You can shoot through this wall all the way to the far side of the courtyard if an attacker's holding an angle from there. If you don't have any intel, there's a great jump spot off the top of this bollard to check if there are any attackers in the courtyard. If your Cypher or your team has called that the attackers have pushed up from market, you can spray through the wall to tag your enemies. Remember to use the walls on either side of the walkway to easily line up your shots. Once the spike's planted on B, it can be a real pain to retake, especially if the attackers are holding the back of B with operators. These lineups will let you get free damage if the attackers are standing in these common positions. There are multiple lineups to shoot these spots, but the most consistent I've found is to walk up to the boat to position yourself and then shoot through these spots on the wall. Or you can use the minimap to ping the area you want to shoot, which makes the lineup much more easy. The final spot is in this corner. It's a bit buggy at the moment when enemies are marked with Cypher's camera. But anyway, you can still spray through the boathouse or on the wall to the left hand side of sight to clear off anyone in this position. This wallbang is great for applying pressure for anyone holding the mid courtyard from market. It's especially useful later in the round if your teams run out of smokes. By pushing up the right hand side of the catwalk, you're covered from anyone holding you in this position, and you can jump to see the right hand side of the door, allowing you to safely line up and spray through the wall onto anyone sitting there. If you want an exact lineup for this spot, jump down here and back into this corner. Shoot at the middle of the darker brick for the perfect headshot. The best wallbang on Ascent is pretty well known, especially to all the Sova players. The wall of B main is wallbangable if you have a high penetration weapon, and using this wallbang you can pretty much guarantee yourself freer limbs or damage at the start of the rounds if the attackers are pushing this way. If you aren't Sova, but you can hear the enemies push into B main, the easiest lineup I've found is using the left side of this wall. I'll now show you the left and right side of the doorway with my dummy, so you know exactly which areas to shoot between. If you're Sova, you can use your recon bolt to highlight the enemies, just try not to do this every round as the attackers will expect it and just instantly shoot your bolts or not come that way. Next up is Bind. Number 5 is to stop anyone hiding in the teleporter by showers. If anyone's trying to hide in either of the front corners, you'll be able to eliminate them easily. The right wall is impenetrable, so to shoot the right corner, you need to shoot through the doors. Aim to the right of this tooth where the door has a slight colour change. To shoot into the left side corner, come to this corner between the wall and the boxes, and aim just to the left of this shadow. No prizes for guessing that the 4th spot on Bind is the other teleporter. As it's more commonly used than the other teleporter, it goes higher on the list. For clearing out the right hand side, come into the corner of the box in the wall and spray between the join. This works on either side of the boxes. The left side is a bit harder to line up, but you want to be shooting at the joint between the curved wall and the teleporter. Just be careful as you're pretty exposed whilst you're doing this. Next is a wallbang through the back wall of B site, which is useful if you're trying to retake the site as a defender. It's pretty common for attackers to use the tunnel as cover to hold the defender's spawn, so shooting through this wall can move someone off this position, helping your team push in. Although, if you're an attacker and you see someone trying to do this, remember you can return fire as it goes both ways. Second on Bind is this wallbang to clear anyone off the boxes by showers. The first lineup will stop anyone boosting on top of the higher boxes to hold it. Try and remember this spot on the ceiling, as it can be useful to spray through this wall once you've got into showers, in case a defender has repositioned up onto the boxes. The second spot is for anyone on the lower box. You used to be able to go into this corner and line yourself up easily, but now stick to the left hand side of the rugs and spray through the wall here. Again, remember this spot in the wall, as it can be useful to respray this position from anywhere in showers. Finally, the best wallbangs on Bind are from Hookah into the B site. I've cheated a little bit here, and there's actually 4 wallbangs in this section, but because they're all in a similar position, I just counted them as 1. You can actually safely clear most anchoring spots in B site through the walls of the window, without even having to reveal yourself. The second is 2 angles to pressure anyone holding Hookah from the cubby in sight. Use this wall to line up your shot from the side of the box. From the other side of the box, crouch down and aim just under the corner of the window trim. The third wallbang is to stop any defenders pushing out of their spawn into the site. Crouch down right on the back wall and aim along the edge of the trim. You can still see the top of the door to line up your shots on either side of the entrance. The final wallbang is great in a post-plant situation if the spike's planted in its default position. Normally you'd hold the spike from long, but you can actually shoot through the wall of Hookah to safely eliminate anyone trying to defuse a spike, without having to reveal yourself. This is especially good if you're in a 1v2 or 3 situation, and you don't want to have to fight someone before killing the person on the spike. Next up is Haven. For the 5th spot on this map, we have an early round wallbang to tag anyone trying to push into mid early in the round. If you've been playing aggressively out of the garage on defense, it isn't uncommon for attackers to hold the doors from this position, so mixing it up using this wallbang will just catch them off guard. Just make sure you aim far enough to the right, otherwise you'll just be shooting the door rather than through the wood. You can see if you're doing this because the lights will go red. This next spot is very situational, but can be used if your teammate calls that there are attackers in sewers. Jump onto this box, crouch and aim just to the left of the corner on this brick. This should at least soften up the attackers for anyone holding a site. Next is a very similar spot from mid, but this time into garage. If your team call that the attackers have taken garage, spray through the centre of this hole to damage anyone trying to jump up into the window. Just be careful an attacker doesn't try and sneak up behind you whilst you're using either of these spots. Second is another wallbang for garage, but this one is better if you've been overrun and had to retreat. Line yourself up flush with the edge of this bit of wood and spray through at this height. This lands exactly on any attackers pushing through the garage doors. This is an excellent way to safely pressure the attacking team even if they smoked off the garage window. The final wallbang is another early round spot I like to use to soften up the attacking team at no risk to yourself. Use the right side of the box in B to line yourself up for this spot. I'll sometimes ping the area I want to shoot on the map to make this lineup a bit easier too. As you can see on the cam, if the attackers are pressed up against the barrier, they'll be in this position. The best thing about this wallbang though is that you can shoot all the way back into the defender's spawn through the doorway to window. I sometimes like to use the Guardian for this due to its high penetration and higher damage than the other rifles. Finally we're on to split. 5th on the list is this little wallbang to safely damage anyone trying to enter A heaven from ramp. This angle can be very dangerous to challenge, but with this wallbang through the box you can eliminate anyone being aggressive without putting yourself at risk from anyone holding further back on the ramp. 4th is a couple of wallbangs from the top of mid onto anyone leaving the sewers. From male, spray anywhere along this line to get a headshot on anyone behind the box. You can also use this wallbang from vents, but this time aim a little bit lower at the join between the 2 boxes, and then you'll be shooting at the perfect head height. This next wallbang is perfect to use in a post-plant situation on the A side. It's pretty common for defenders to try and retake sight from this window, so line yourself up all like this and you can spray through this position of the box to hit anyone coming out of the window. I'll use the dummy to show you which 2 points to shoot between for either side of the window. An extra little tip is you can actually shoot through the top of this box too onto window. Next are the wallbangs from bottom mid to the top of mid. These are higher on the list because they're very common for defending players to be anchoring in these positions, so sometimes these wallbangs are the only way you can actually take possession of mid early in the round. Line yourself up with either side of the doorway and shoot at the join between the boxes for anyone holding in male. From the other side, you can wallbang anyone holding bottom mid from inside vents. This is a very common operator spot, and if you just push straight out, it's very likely that you'll just die. This is harder to line up, but follow this line to the wall, turn around and then take a few steps to the right, and then you'll be in the middle of this tile. If you go too far, you'll be visible to the player in vents. Finally, the best wallbang on split is great for holding the B site. You can shoot through this box at the back of site as the attacking team are funneled into this small corridor to get onto the site. Go to the back right corner and aim just above this corner of the two posters for anyone in this position. But sort of this general area for shooting through this box will get anyone in the corridor. Be careful though, if you don't eliminate the enemy players quickly, they'll return fire through the box and you might be in a pretty difficult situation. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful, please like and subscribe. Also, check out my individual map wallbang breakdowns for even more wallbangs. Thanks for watching!